What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking in. This is G, a player to be named later. Hope everyone is doing well. Today, I got something special for you. The top reasons for coaching changes. We're going to check in with some teams, check in why they might need to make some changes, whether it's now, the upcoming off season for some sports. We're going to get into that right now. So let's do it. I'm going to start off kind of simple, obviously, with the teams that I talk most about. Let's start with the Leafs. There's absolutely no reason to make a change with Craig Berube. But if there is some nitpicking to be done, you might want to look at Mark Savard. I don't really condone or really want to be the person who actually promotes someone getting fired. That's certainly not the case here, but just some kind of change from Mark Savard with this power play with the Leafs would be greatly appreciated. You know, you have some of the top offensive minded players to throw out there with this power play. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares. They just simply can't get it done for whatever reason. And there are some other options there. When they change to the second unit, it's usually only with a few seconds left, so they don't really get that time to shine. But the first thing I would do is look at changing out both Morgan Rielly and John Tavares. I think another look might be to throw in a Matthew Nyes, a Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Who knows? It just might give it a different look. Maybe slow down the movement. The first thing I would change is the personnel. The second thing I would change absolutely is that zone entry. The drop back pass to whoever's skating up ice, it just doesn't work. You have a guy coming in to the zone with speed, and then you have four guys who are waiting for him with no speed, no momentum, and they have to catch up. So by the time he gets into the zone and drops the puck back, the half-boards, there's no one there. There's no one there to help them. They're just catching up. They don't have the same speed or momentum. Let's switch that up. There's other ways to enter the zone. This is the NHL. It can't just be the same thing game after game. Teams are onto the way of play for the power play for the Leafs. So they just need to switch that up. I don't think they get enough shots to the net, both on the power play and obviously at full strength, but more shots to the net would be a big help. We've seen what happens, and I'm not just talking about floaters, obviously, here, but they need more movement to the net, or shots to the net, and that would give them a big advantage with, then you have the defensemen moving around in different spaces that maybe they're not as comfortable. Right now, you have them out on the perimeter, basically, and having their way with you on the boards, on the forecheck. So I think that's another way Mark Savard should look at changing up this power play. When it comes to coaching changes with the Leafs, that's more of a kind of scheme-oriented change. I would look at them. On a personnel note, obviously Craig Berube is doing a really good job considering some of the injuries he's had to deal with and personnel issues. So let's move on to the next team that I would kind of talk about, and that's obviously the Toronto Raptors now. Darko Rajakovic, it's really interesting. Was a really interesting hire last season. There were other options out there. I personally would have liked to see Kenny Atkinson be hired, or even Jordy Fernandez at the time. But, Masai went with Darko Rajakovic. I can see from a personal standpoint, not personnel, but personal standpoint, his connection, how he relates to players, how he speaks to them, how he connects with them. I can see why Masai thought it would be a good hire. On the offensive side of the ball, I think he's unlocked a few players, and you can see the growth and development. RJ's shown it, Scotty's shown it, Grady obviously has shown it, and even in the short time they've been here, you see the difference in Jamal Shedd's game, Jacoby's game. So he really has something there, and it shows. But I would say the change that needs to come here is on the defensive side of the ball. And that's actually maybe changing up the personnel here on the Raptors staff and not necessarily removing anyone, but maybe adding a defensive minded specialist to that bench. I know it's getting kind of crowded there on the coaching seats for the Raptors side. I'm sure they could spare one though. But I would say, a really defensive minded specialist needs to come in and really look at this team. Someone who also values possessions. So I think the Raptors need to, maybe looking into an addition there with the coaching staff. When it comes to Darko, I actually do think he's on the kind of hot seat. It says a lot about your team, the development that they show. And like I said, on the offensive side, a lot of them have shown that. But I would say with the pieces they have on the defensive side of the ball, there's been, some regression there for whatever reason. But the energy is just not there. It's like they don't believe in that side of the ball, the system. Like I said, they take a lot of chances and overplay possession sometimes. It gets them in trouble and out of position. And this day and age, when you're playing teams that actually center their whole offense around 3-point shot, where they actually want to take more 3-pointers than 2-point baskets, then you have an issue with this defense. You can't. They don't want to play it safe. They don't want to play in front of teams. They want to attack. So that's where I kind of think they find themselves in trouble in that end. But back to the coaching, I think you're looking at probably an additional hire as a defensive specialist here. Moving on, let's talk about the Toronto Blue Jays. John Schneider. It's kind of rough to sit here and point the finger at John Schneider for all the Blue Jays ills, but as a professional head coach or manager of a team, you still have to have some kind of pushback, or you have to have the moxie to stand up for what you believe in as the head person of the team. You have to, whether that's to management, upper management, the fans, your players, your staff. You have to stand on your own 2 feet and believe in what you believe in. And I think John Schneider has been put in a position where he hasn't been fully allowed to do that, so I'm not going to attack him as a person. He's made a lot of sacrifices, I would say, from his own personal belief of how this team should be managed. I'll put it that way. And you can kind of see it in his face every game. That's my own intuition just looking at that. He literally asks, whether it's Don Mattingly or Pete Walker or DeMarlo Hale, he literally asks their opinion on every decision. Ask them if it's the right thing he's doing. You could see it they really focus in on John Schneider when he's making decisions. So, when it comes to John Schneider, I just think when you've gotten to that point with a team and roster that the Jays have, there's no looking back. I think he's lost that locker room, unfortunately, although those players probably won't come out and say that. This is just from what I see from their openness, from the starting rotation to kind of question decisions, and as well as the offensive side, of the plate. So I think John Schneider has been put in a position here where he doesn't really look good either way. I think the Jays are, they're in line for a change at the manager position. Even before the season starts. I know it's only, a few weeks now from pitchers and catchers reporting, but I would still make the change. Maybe some people would think it's too late. It probably is. But John Schneider is just, to me, not going to get the job done again. I'm not sure what the Jays are doing in terms of of still adding to that roster. Maybe as we speak, they're doing something, who knows? I wouldn't count on it. But yeah, I would actually advocate for a change in manager for the Toronto Blue Jays. And then last, we'll get to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a really tough one. This is so tough to say. Being a Steelers fan for as long as I have, probably 30 years now. Only seeing two coaches really. So from Bill Cowher and then Mike Tomlin for basically the last 19 years. So this is tough, but this is another team right now that I would look to actually make a change. If I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, now they've given Coach Tomlin a vote of confidence and saying he's coming back for another season. I'm good with that too. But I wouldn't have been surprised if they had made a change, or if they're still maybe considering it. You never know with front offices. But it just feels like things have run its course with Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Things feel stale. This is another locker room where I feel like the coach doesn't have the pulse. He's kind of lost it. I think a lot of guys feed into his grasp of the team. So I'm not saying he's fully lost it. There is a lot of support for Mike Tomlin. And I'm not saying he's a bad head coach by any means. I love Mike Tomlin. It's just, this wouldn't even be like a firing. It would be more of a mutual parting between two parties, two sides of the coin. The Steelers and Mike Tomlin. It just doesn't seem to be working out anymore. It's just, the decisions, I think, start with his coordinators, really. He's really made some bad decisions in terms of personnel he's brought in, personnel he's let go. Letting Mike Munchak go was tough. Hiring Matt Canada was even tougher for all of us. I'm not sure how much Arthur Smith has changed that narrative. And then you have Terrell Austin. I mean, coach, let's go, man. I mean, Terrell Austin is not it. And I don't like doing that. I don't like, I don't like being the person to point the finger at the coach, but Terrell Austin is, I just don't think he has the right scheme for the personnel he has with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And there's a lot of talent on that team. There's a lot of talent on that side of the football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And to not use that talent properly, who knows, maybe there were some injuries there that the fans don't know about. The media, I think that's hard to believe, though. You usually find out about these things. I just think that, with the talent that the Pittsburgh Steelers had on the defensive side of the ball, it just wasn't managed correctly. They weren't put in the right positions. They didn't have the right scheme. For TJ Watt not to have a single stat registered, I think it was 194 plays or something like that. I don't know the exact number. It's up there though. But for 100 and let's say 75 and a little bit more straight defensive snaps, TJ Watt did not register a statistic. Like, let that sink in. TJ Watt. So when you have practically the defensive player of the year, healthy in your lineup, willing to do whatever it takes, you utilize him. You don't just throw him out there on his end and, all right, TJ, do your regular thing. Move him around, make him cause some havoc, yelling at his team, at the quarterback. Who knows? You see how Max Crosby is out there. You see how guys like Aiden Hutchinson are out there. They're loud, and TJ has that in him. So I just think that When it all comes down to the Pittsburgh Steelers staff, I think there's some decisions that need to be made there. Definitely it starts at least with the coordinators. I know they're always going to get the short end of the stick, but Arthur Smith and Terrell Austin, there needs to be some changes there in my estimation, my opinion. And then obviously you have Mike Tomlin. And it seems Coach Tomlin still wants to play this brand of football that doesn't really exist in the NFL anymore. He likes to push it, but it's not getting it done anymore. And frankly, you don't have the team to do that. So I don't really know what to say about quarterback at this point. I don't know if they need to draft a quarterback and develop him, or if they pick someone up in free agency, they stick with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I'm lost, honestly. I'm lost at this point with what they need to do. And that alone just makes you think about the leadership of the Steelers. If even the fans have no idea what the direction of this team is, your team certainly doesn't. Omar Khan needs to really look at the situation, in my opinion. And let's see what happens. So everyone, thanks for watching. My top reasons for coaching changes with the Maple Leafs, Raptors, Jays, and Steelers. There's obviously a lot of head coaching changes happening in sports, in all sports right now. There's lots of change happening, from head coaching to assistant coaches, coordinators, scout teams. It's a crazy time, obviously, in sports. It always is. And I thank you for watching. I just wanted to also say, I don't know what's going on with TikTok as of Sunday. If there's going to be a ban. If you do happen to usually watch me on TikTok, I have the link for my YouTube that I will post, as well as my IG account, my IG profile. And you can watch me there. And I always thank you for the support and for the comments, the likes. Send me the questions and your requests. I promise you there's at least 5 requests I have out there. I'll be getting to them soon. There's just a lot to get to, so I'll see you all on the next video. And thanks again for watching, and catch me on the next one.